Alright, so it is a gray, gloomy day here in Pennsylvania. There's a light rain falling right now. It's supposed to get pretty heavy later on today, but we're going to try and brave the weather out here a little bit. It's actually pretty warm, about in the 40s, which is this is December 14th, so it's pretty warm for a December day. But it's supposed to snow on Monday, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm not out in the woods today. It is still deer season. This is the last Saturday of deer season, I think, and it gets pretty crowded on these Saturdays during deer season, so I'm going to stay out of the woods. And plus the fact that it's also going to be raining pretty heavily later. I thought I'd visit a couple cemeteries today. Seems like a nice, gloomy, gray day to visit a cemetery. So I'll tell you a little bit about this cemetery in a moment. It's actually not too far from where I live. I just kind of looked on the Google Maps this morning, found some old churches to visit, old cemeteries. Kind of a nice day, a nice ambiance, I guess they'd call it, for a cemetery, for a nice little cemetery walk. All right. So this is St. John's Host Church here in Berks County, Pennsylvania, near the little town called Host. And dates back to 1727, the church does, or the congregation does. The current church back there was built in 1775. And I guess they said the cemetery started in like 1754 or 58, but they're probably burying people here before then, I would assume, if they were meeting here in 1727. The old church is just an old log church, which obviously isn't here anymore. So there's some history here. I've been walking around a little bit already. There's quite a few Revolutionary War graves. They are a little hard to read, the graves, because it's wet out here. Kind of makes some of the gravestones a little hard to read. They're always hard to read anyway, so. Anyway, I'm going to quit yapping, and we'll walk around, see what's here, show you some of the history here together. Lots of older tombstones from the 1700s, which is pretty cool. I like those older ones. Of course, I got the nice stone wall going around here as well. You can see it back behind me. I think, maybe not. Well, I'll be turning around. You can see the stone wall circling the whole cemetery. Creates for a nice feature. All right, let's quit yapping and start checking some of these old graves out. Yeah, the fog makes for a nice day in the cemetery, huh? There's the church up on the hill. So here's our first Revolutionary War grave, because they always have these plaques here for the Revolutionary War. I'll do my best to read some of these, but these are difficult to read. You can see some of the dates on here, 1793 to 1868. Some of these are kind of hard to, even this one, I'm not sure what that name is. They're probably in German too. Looks like the last name is D-E-R-T, Dirt, or Dur. Well, those are R's, Dur. Last name of Dur. There we go, 1795, when they were born. Because you gotta love the old tombstone styles. Some of these are just really large tombstones. I mean, this goes up to my chest, actually. That's how tall this one is. We got a date down here of... Actually, I don't see a date. Oh, there's a date of death, 1851 it looks like. Can't quite see. Oh, is that the date? There it is. Looks like it says... Sorry here. 1780 something, it looks like. Yeah, here's one, 1782 when they were born. Because I think some of the names are kind of abbreviated too. At least so it looks like. Of course, that's with all these old cemeteries. You do get some that get broken off. But the church has them laying over there nicely and has some leaning against other ones there. A lot of them are just, very difficult to read. I know there are ways to make them more legible. I'll talk about that in a moment and why I don't really do it. Yeah, there's another old one that broke off. See, and this is what looks like an empty area in here. There's probably quite a few graves in here. Just maybe some older ones that don't actually have, the tombstones. Of course, they're written in German too, so that makes it even more difficult. It looks like a child, 1845 to 1846. Huh. Here's our oldest one yet, born in 1776. Looks like it's died in 1851. Looks like it starts with a J, so some kind of, actually, the names show up better on the camera than they do in real time here. That's another thing as well. Sometimes it makes more sense looking through the camera. It looks like it's some kind of a Jonathan, a Germanized Jonathan, Johannes or something like that maybe. You can always let me know down below. So this looks like a William, or short for William maybe. Trying to look at through the camera there. W-H-I-L. Wilhelm. And here's one you don't see too often, the War of 1812. I don't see too many of those memorials. So that's cool. And it looks like he was born in 1793, died in 1876. And so yes, I know you can do chalk rubbings and put flour, on these tombstones and stuff. People have mentioned to make the tombstones more legible, but people don't really, a lot of these cemeteries, that people that own these cemeteries or manage them, don't really want you to do that, out of respect for the tombstones and stuff. I've come across cemeteries where it's obvious someone did a chalk rubbing and there's like blue or red chalk on the tombstones and stuff. I know you're supposed to use paper with the chalk rubbing, but I guess it got on anyway. So like the church behind me, there's people in there right now. I really doubt they would appreciate me coming out here and, pouring flour and all kinds of other stuff on their tombstones out here. So out of respect for the tombstones and the people who manage and take care of these cemeteries, I don't really do stuff like that, if that makes any sense. If I was doing some comprehensive research of every tombstone, maybe I would ask permission to do something like that. But if I'm just coming out here for a little explore, I'm not gonna, do that kind of stuff. Because I've even come across cemeteries where they have signs specifically asking you not to do chalk rubbings and stuff. So we won't be doing any of that here, or in most of my videos when it comes to cemeteries. But I do appreciate the, information you give me and trying to help me to read these tombstones. But I won't be doing any of that. Here's another Revolutionary War veteran. I can't really make out this tombstone at all, but there's quite a few. I've seen like 6 or 7. Everywhere you see a flag is another Revolutionary War veteran. So there's quite a few in this cemetery. A lot of history here. This one's a little easier to read. Looks like it says Catherine. Can't quite make out the last name though. Catherine. Looking for a date on here. Oh, there's like one, 1781. Looks like to me. So some are a little bit more readable. This one has that white color. And you do get some different styles here. Get these more rounder ones. They're a little bit more reddish colored than the others. There's 2 more up there. They're a stark contrast to the taller, grayer ones, but these are almost completely unreadable. Probably a husband and wife here. Alright, looks like there's some oldies up here yet. And way out there, looks like there's some oldies way back out there as well. Alright, so let's keep going, let's keep searching. We found another oldie here. 1770 he was born, died 1847. Another Revolutionary War veteran. Once again, can't quite make out the name there. I almost want to say George. I'm probably totally wrong, but all right. And we found an even older one. Well, as far as when they were born, 1746. Died in 1838, looks like, down there. Once again, I can't really make out the name. Everything's in German. I think I read, that says geboren. I think that means born, geboren. But the rest of it is, they're hard enough to read as it is, but when they're in another language. I feel like we're getting older and older as we go back towards this end of the cemetery. So we'll see what happens. Because it looks like way out there there's some just regular field stones that probably don't have anything on them at all. See, here's more, 3 more Revolutionary War veterans. And 4 more up there, so there's a lot of history here. That's just a newer part of the church there. Well, this one has some newer stuff on it too. Jacob Pfeiffer, private, first company, Berks County, PA militia. Oh, he was born in 1730. Wow. 1730, died in 1798. Cool. So he was an old guy when he was in the Revolutionary War. There's what his actual tombstone looks like. Oh, but you can see the 1730 on there. 1730. Cool. So they are getting older. Yeah, so this is the older end of the cemetery. Because we started way back up there. And there are some oldies here. Once again, you have these older style ones. Here's one that's been, I guess you could say redone. Johannes Trautmann, 1713. That's our oldest one yet. Died in 1764. Has his wife up here as well, Eva Elizabeth. And parents of 7 children arrived in Philadelphia from Germany on October 7th, 1743. Of course, this is a newer tombstone dedicated in year 2000. So, but one we can read. And there's one right next to it. More Trautmanns. Actually, I think this is the same people. Eva Elizabeth, yeah. She's over there as well. 1716. Cool. So does this one say? Oh, this one's pretty weathered. I see a 1760 on there, but all right. And of course, as you go back further in time, you do get the tombstones that are just a field stone with nothing written on them. Another one out here. And out here, and there's 2 more out there. So, but this area is not empty though. It's empty of tombstones, but it's probably full of graves in here that date back, early 1700s. These are just rocks in the ground. One up here by its lonesome. So more than likely, in this part of the cemetery, there are people from the 1600s buried in here. They're probably born in the 1600s. Like this, the congregation was formed in 1727. Like I said, the cemetery was only, what do you call it, incorporated, or what do you call it, in the 1750s, but more than likely they were burying people here before then. That's what this area back here was. So if you died in, the 1720s or 1730s, you definitely were born in the 1600s. So, who knows who's buried in here. It's kind of interesting history. But I do love finding those old dates on the tombstone. 1716, that's the oldest date I've seen for a while. Now granted, that's when they were born. That's not when they died, but it's still cool to see the old dates. When you live over in Europe, 1716 in Europe is nothing, but here in Pennsylvania, it's pretty cool. All right, well, I'm gonna make my way, walk up back through, see if there's anything neat that I see. As I'm walking here in this old section, I realize I'm probably walking on top of who knows how many graves of people. Not disrespectfully, but just don't really know where they're buried. All right, cool little day out here in this gloomy, foggy December day. All right, we'll take one last look at the cemetery here. Like I said, it's almost a perfect day for just exploring an old cemetery. And I may have ancestors of my own that are in here. At least on my dad's side, they were from this area. And I have made videos in the past, quite some time ago, maybe 2 years ago. I did some videos of some other church cemeteries in the area. I showed you some of my ancestors. Maybe I'll do that again sometime. I have quite a few new subscribers than I did back then. All right, well, it's not pouring yet, but the rain is coming. But I'm gonna head to one other cemetery. I think I'll make that another video. That one might be a little noisier because it's closer to a road, but it's another old cemetery. I do enjoy these old ones. Just walking, it's like just walking through history. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will see you hopefully at the other cemetery. It might be pouring rain by then, but I do have my umbrella with. All right, thanks for watching.